Did you know that Peppa may have had another sister before Evie? But the reason why she doesn't appear might be quite dark. If you've been watching our videos for a while, you already know that Peppa's family may seem happy and innocent, but in reality, it's full of secrets. One of the biggest ones is that Peppa may have had another sister before Evie. For some mysterious reason, she never appeared, and there are many theories about it. Think I'm exaggerating? Let me prove to you that there was at least one other piglet in the pig family. Have you ever seen the official promotional images released when the show first came out? In the picture, we see Peppa's family in front of their house. There's Mummy Pig, Daddy Pig, Peppa, and George. This was long before Evie was born, so everyone should be outside together, right? But when we look closely, we can see another pig in the window. Why would they put a pig in the window if the whole family is standing outside? Some people say that's Peppa's evil twin. We even made a video about that before. But it could also be that this pig was Peppa's sister, who had a sad ending and died. That image of her in the window could be her spirit watching the family from afar. Can you imagine? It gives me chills. The name fans gave this other sister is Penny Pig. That's because if you pay attention, all character names start with the same letter as their species in the original language. We have Susie Sheep, Rebecca Rabbit, Pedro Pony, and so on. George and Evie are the only ones who don't have a name that starts with the same letter as their last name. Could that be because Mummy and Daddy Pig were traumatized and wanted to give them a different name? Curious about Peppa's possible sister? Stay tuned because we're about to start another video from Zigzag. Speaking of trauma, have you ever noticed that Peppa's parents are a little too worried about health? In the episode where George plays in the rain, when he gets home, he sneezes. Achoo! Just because of that, they already call the doctor to come to their house. It's fine to be cautious, and we all know it's better safe than sorry. But who calls a doctor at home because of a sneeze? But what if Penny had a serious illness like pneumonia and it all started looking like just a regular cold? That would explain Mummy and Daddy Pig's trauma. Small children have weaker health, so that would explain how something that's usually treatable could have been fatal for Penny. We've already made a video about the theory that says Aunt Dottie is actually evil and jealous. That would explain why she lives in another country and goes years without seeing the family. But you know what else would explain that? If Dottie had been responsible for Penny being unalive. In the Thanksgiving episode, we see Aunt Dottie for the first time. She mentions that she hasn't seen Peppa since she was a baby. We also see that she had never met George before. That shows that she hasn't seen the family in many years, which is very strange. Why would two sisters go years without seeing each other? That could be explained if one of them was very angry at the other. Sure, in that same episode, we see Mummy Pig treating Aunt Dottie politely. But that could be just because she's in front of the children. Also, Mummy Pig doesn't react with the level of excitement you'd expect from someone who hasn't seen her sister in so many years. But that would make perfect sense if Aunt Dottie were guilty of Penny taking her last breath. When parents have to leave the house, it's common to ask a sibling to watch the kids. What if Dottie was babysitting Peppa and Penny when something went wrong? It could have been an accident, or maybe Penny got sick and Dottie thought it wasn't serious until it was too late. After that, Mummy Pig could have gotten angry, and Aunt Dottie might have felt too guilty. That's why she decided to move far away. Has your sibling ever done something that made you really angry? Tell us in the comments using the hashtag Dottie. Another possible reason Penny might have expired has to do with the flood that occasionally happens in the town. Of course, the Peppa's show wouldn't mention that because it's a children's cartoon. But if you live in a city that floods, you know it's not rare for people to join their ancestors because of it. And the flood in Peppa's town is so big that everyone has to use boats. Grandpa Dog and Danny are even sailing around rescuing people. As we see in the episode, The Biggest Muddy Puddle in the World, many families don't have a boat, including Peppa's family, who can only go to the market to buy food because Granny and Grandpa Pig pass by with theirs. Imagine if one day, during a flood, Penny went out to play and ended up drowning. Or maybe it was on a day like that when she got sick while Aunt Dottie was watching her, and that's why they couldn't make it to the hospital. Penny may no longer be around, but Peppa might still remember her a little. Peppa's teddy bear might have belonged to Penny before. Peppa takes it everywhere, and she often confuses its gender. Sometimes it's a boy, sometimes it's a girl. Maybe that happens because, at times, she remembers her sister. In those moments, she doesn't fully understand those memories and ends up reliving them through Teddy, pretending to hear what he says as if it were her sister speaking. I don't know about you, but I'll never be able to watch Peppa's scenes with Teddy the same way again after this. This theory about the daughter who was unalived is dark, but there's another possibility just as bad. What if Penny didn't expire and actually got lost from her family? Maybe Aunt Dottie was out with her when she got distracted and lost Penny when she was little. Unfortunately, that's something that happens quite often. She could have been found by another family or ended up in an orphanage far away from the pig family all this time. Can you imagine if this theory is true and Penny shows up years later looking for her biological family? I wouldn't want to miss that episode. It sounds like a soap opera. And since we're talking about losing something, you wouldn't want to miss other videos like this one, right? To make sure you don't, just subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Okay, so far all the possibilities have been pretty dark, but let's suppose Penny's fate wasn't so cruel. Maybe she was adopted or lives with Peppa's paternal grandparents, Daddy Pig's parents. They've never appeared, so it's very possible. It could have happened for a simple reason. Maybe Penny is much older than Peppa. Daddy Pig is around 30 years old, and Mummy Pig is a bit younger. So maybe they had Penny when they were very young. That's why she went to live with her grandparents or was adopted by another family. Maybe Daddy Pig was still in college and they couldn't afford to raise everyone. But she could have been adopted by another family close to the pigs, like in the next theory we're bringing to you. What if Penny is actually Chloe Pig, Peppa's cousin? If Daddy and Mummy Pig had their first daughter when they were too young, they could have given her to Daddy Pig's brother, Uncle Pig. He and Aunt Pig really wanted a child, but she had trouble getting pregnant, so they agreed to raise Daddy and Mummy Pig's daughter. If you think that theory doesn't make sense, think about it. Chloe's brother Alexander was only born when Chloe was already 10 years old. That's a long time between kids, which makes perfect sense if they had trouble conceiving. Peppa would have been very close to her sister all along, playing together without either of them knowing it. What if Penny never really existed? Wait, let me explain. It could be that Penny is just a creation of Peppa's imagination. Peppa is a very creative child and is always inventing stories and characters. Remember when she pretended that Teddy was hurt and had to go to the doctor? Maybe at some point, before Evie was born, Peppa felt lonely and invented an imaginary sister to play with. Kids do that all the time, especially when their parents are busy or when they want someone to keep them company. The most curious part is that, if you look closely, sometimes Peppa talks to herself while staring into nothing, as if she's talking to someone. Could it be that she's actually talking to Penny? And that image by the window that we showed at the beginning could symbolize exactly that. Not a real presence, but something that only exists inside her head. Kind of like when we remember a dream and it feels so real. Could Penny be Peppa's way of dealing with loneliness before George was born? What do you think happened to the little pig that appears in the window in the image we showed?